Bismillahirrahmanirrahim and Assalamu alaikum. Dear students, today's video is related to the process of dialysis. So in this lesson, we will learn about the process or the introduction of the dialysis. Then we will see that what are the types of the dialysis. We will discuss the process of the dialysis and the physiological principles which are involved in the process of dialysis. So these are the outlines of our today's lesson. So students, here you're watching the definition of the dialysis. The dialysis is the procedure used to correct the fluid and the electrolyte imbalances and to remove the waste products in the renal failure. So what dialysis can do and what cannot? Actually, the dialysis removes the waste and the fluid from the blood, so it purifies the blood, but it do not correct the endocrine functions of the kidney. Hence the dialysis is not a cure for the kidney failure. It's just a temporary treatment, not the permanent treatment for the kidney failure. And the permanent treatment for the kidney failure is just the renal transplantation. Basically, there are two types of the dialysis. These are known as the hemodialysis and the peritoneal dialysis. So we will discuss their processes one by one. Here in this figure, you're watching the main difference between the two types of the processes. First is the hemodialysis. Hemo simply means the blood, and dialysis meaning to pass through. So it removes the nitrogenous waste products, excess fluid, and the electrolytes from the blood by means of the artificial kidney. So nearly 90% of all the dialysis patients receives the hemodialysis. But what is the peritoneal dialysis? It removes the nitrogenous waste products, excess fluid, and the electrolytes from the blood by means of the peritoneal membrane. Peritoneal membrane is actually the membrane inside the abdomen which is surrounding all our visceral organs in the abdomen region. So approximately 10 to 15% patients are receiving the peritoneal dialysis. So first we will discuss the process of the hemodialysis. How long does hemodialysis take? Hemodialysis usually is done 3 times a week. Each treatment lasts for 2 to 4 hours. During the treatment, patient can read, write, sleep, talk, or watch TV. Now we will see that how the main procedure of the hemodialysis occurs. So in the figure you are watching the position of the patient which are taking the hemodialysis. So hemodialysis is having a hemodialyzer machine, and the 2 catheters are used, which are from one catheter the blood is flowed to the dialyzer, but from the second catheter filter blood returning to the body. Here you're watching the main equipment which is known as the dialyzer for the hemodialysis process. In this dialyzer, which is acting as an artificial kidney, a fluid is used which is known as the dialysate. So dialyzers are the hollow fiber artificial kidney that contain thousands of tiny tubules that act as semi-permeable membrane. The blood flows through the tubules while a solution called the dialysate circulates around the tubules. The exchange of weights from the blood to the dialysate occurs through the semi-permeable membrane of the tubules. Direction of blood and the dialysate flow in the artificial kidney. The blood flows in one direction and the dialysate flow in the opposite. So this figure is representing how the blood and the dialysate are moving in the opposite direction. Now the question is that what is the physiological principles on which the dialyzer is working? These are actually the osmosis, and osmosis involves the 2 processes which are the diffusion and the ultrafiltration. You know what is the diffusion? Diffusion is the movement of the solutes from the area of the high concentration to the area of lower concentration, while osmosis is a special process of the diffusion in which the solvent is moving from the higher water potential or the solvent potential to the low solvent potential, while the ultrafiltration is actually the filtration which is occurring due to the high pressure across the semi-permeable membrane. Now we will see that what kind of solutes will move across the semi-permeable membrane during the hemodialysis by the process of diffusion. Movement of the solutes from an area of the greater concentration to an area of lower concentration. In the renal failure, urea, creatinine, uric acid, and the electrolytes, which involves the potassium and phosphates, move from the blood to the dialysate with the net effect of lowering their concentration in the blood. And this is the main function of the kidney, which is now performed by the dialyzer, which is acting as an artificial kidney. But the WBCs, RBCs, and the other content with the blood are too large to diffuse across the membrane, and they don't need to be removed. That's why they will remain there. Now, by the process of osmosis, the movement of the fluid from an area of the lesser to an area of greater concentration of the solutes, glucose is added to the dialyzing solution and creates an osmotic gradient across the membrane to remove the excess fluid from the blood. Now, the third principle on which the dialyzer is working is the ultrafiltration. Ultrafiltration is defined as the water moving under the high pressure to an area of the lower pressure. This process is much more efficient at water removal than osmosis. So, ultrafiltration is accomplished by applying the negative pressure on a suctioning force to the dialysis membrane. So students, this was the main process and the principles of the hemodialysis. In our next lesson, we will discuss what are the peritoneal dialysis. Thank you and Allah Hafiz.